Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. This is another Dream Team podcast that we've lined up today. And we're very happy to have Niall Grimley on, who obviously everybody knows is from Madden and has played for Armagh and also in the international rules team in, I think it was 2017. So thanks very much for joining us, Niall, and coming on to discuss your Dream Team.
No problem, Sean. Delighted to be on and had a couple of sleepless nights there, so I'm looking forward to it.
I think you know how Kieran McGeeney feels now when you're trying to pick a team now.
I know, I don't know if I'd be rushing into team selection and picking teams and stuff. It definitely wouldn't be easy. I'll maybe wait a while to start that.
So we'll get stuck into your dream team then, and we'll take a look at your goalkeeper who you've chosen in nets. You've Armagh's Blaine Hughes in nets. Then obviously you've played with him the last 4 or 5 years in Armagh. So was this an easy enough choice?
Blaine, I think I played with Blaine now. I first started playing with Blaine at Armagh under-21s, and I've probably played with him now for the seniors for 5 or 6 years. Blaine, he's a great goalkeeper. I've obviously played with some top class goalkeepers, but for me, working so closely with Blaine, excellent goalkeeper, kickouts. He's driven. He always wants to get better. If you score a goal past him, it's probably the same as any goalkeeper. If you score a goal past him, he's not happy. I know even for his club and stuff, Carcruppen, I know he can play outfield. I've seen him playing outfield for his club, and I've seen him scoring free kicks. So for me, Blaine was he was my number one choice. And obviously Blaine's career started off. It probably wasn't the best career. His debut game was against Longford. I remember it well. It was a wet, miserable day, and he let in a couple of goals. And probably just looking back, that probably just shows the nature of the man that's inside him. Like any man could have crumbled and said, you know what, that's too much, or too much pressure or whatever. But Blaine was able to come back, and from that day, he's constantly improved, and he's constantly looking to get better. So he was a goalkeeper, and again, for this next couple of years, myself and himself, I'm looking forward to, please God, kicking on, and I'm looking forward to seeing him progress.
I suppose now, as a midfielder, you have to have a good connection with your goalkeeper, and I suppose that you said that you played with Blaine through underage as well as at senior level. So I assume you have a good connection with him.
Yeah, well, me and Blaine, obviously, I would be pretty good friends with Blaine. He's a good lad. We would find ourselves, just me and him, meeting up, to do kickouts, and it wouldn't be anything spectacular. It would just be, me making runs and him kicking the ball, and that's how simple it could be. But you obviously need a good relationship with your goalkeeper, because ideally I'm looking him to kick me the ball as much as possible. So no, we have a very good relationship.
I'll see your full back line here as well now. You have an all Armagh full back line with Kieran McKeever, Brendan Donaghy and Aidan Falker. Yes,
the three lads. Suppose I'll probably start with Kieran McKeever. I played with Kieran McKeever for, I think it was 3 years. He's probably not renowned for playing corner back, but throughout the years, even before I started playing with Armagh, Kieran McKeever, I looked up to him. He was a hero. When I was in P6 and P7 in primary school, he used to come in and teach me, and I remember being like, wow, this is unbelievable. But having played alongside him, and obviously seeing the caliber of the player that he is, just a complete warrior. And again, if throughout the years, he would have had man marking jobs, and he's probably picking up the opposition's best player. And again, that probably just shows, he's sacrificing his game as well as him being, a top class footballer. And obviously he's fit to do everything. He's also sacrificing his game to take their best player out of the game. And no, I was delighted. Obviously, I've played with him, and I've learned so much. And he played for Armagh for 14 or 15 years, and he had a great career. And no, he was. I had to put him in the team. I know he's in cornerback there, but I had to get him in.
And Donaghy then at full back now.
Yeah, so Brandy, still playing with Brandy. Brandy is, I've been playing with Brandy now about 5 or 6 years. Brandy is, like, I used to look up to Brandy. I'd be going to training and thinking, Jesus, there's like Brandy Donaghy, similar to McKeever, these guys, I when I was maybe 13, 14 or 15, grew up, these boys were playing for Armagh. The two boys played for Ulster. They both played for Ireland. You don't get selected for playing for your county or for these teams just out of luck or out of choice. These boys are maybe some of the most driven men in the country. And again, Brandy, I know Brandy can play. Brandy plays defence for us. He plays full back, the half back line, but I know Brandy plays midfield and half forward, full forward for his club. So it probably shows you how versatile he is, and he's a great man to have about the camp. And again, I'm looking, like what I said with Blaine there, I'm looking forward to seeing what Brandy can produce in the next year or two, and hopefully we can progress together.
I suppose it's the same with Aidan Falker. He's similar to the two boys. You have him a cornerback, but he's literally a boy that could play anywhere on the team.
Yeah, suppose Aidan, I've been playing with Aidan now. I've been playing with Aidan now about 6 years, and he's probably the complete footballer in terms of Mr. Versatile, where it's a cornerback role. He does his man marking job, no problem. Half-back role. I've seen him playing midfield, half forward. He obviously plays full forward and stuff for his club. So he's probably Mr. Versatile. And with Aidan, he's a winner. Like, you see him for Armagh and you see him for his club. He's just a winner, and he just always wants to get better, and he always wants to improve. And no matter who he has the job tasked of marking or playing against, he wants to get the better of them. And you seen it last year and this past 2 years with Armagh. He's done man marking jobs on some of the best footballers about, and not only that, he's able to do his job and control his man, but he's also able to pop up the pitch and score a point. And for me, just for me, having played with Aidan so closely, Aidan Falk would definitely get into any team in Ireland, and he's a great player, and he's also a great fella. So again, similar to Brandy and Blaine, I'm looking forward to what the future holds for the three boys and myself. So that full back line, scary enough full back line.
And we'll move on to your half back line then, Niall. You have two club men in here. You have Niall Smith and Peter Lappin at centre half back, and then Mark Shields on the other wing.
Yeah. So Niall Smith. Niall Smith's a Madden man. He's a year younger than me. I've played with Niall Smith since I was under sixes. We'd be very good friends. In terms of all the footballers that I've played with, obviously I've played with a lot of good footballers, and I'm lucky that way. Niall Smith's probably one of the most intelligent footballers I've played with, in terms of super smart, super controlled on the ball, very rarely makes a bad decision. Again, he's light and he's fast, and we see him there, he's wearing number 15 for Madden, but again, he's versatile. Niall Smith could play, I've seen Niall Smith playing cornerback for Madden, wing back, half forward, full forward, whatever it is, corner forward. And he's probably like a silent leader, where he's a quiet fella, but he just gets on with his game. And I've seen games for Madden now playing, he could be lined out at half-back number 7, and he could finish the game with 2-2 without anyone noticing. He's a great player, and he can play anywhere. So again, I'm looking forward to playing with him for the next couple of years, and I know he can kick on, and I know there's probably more in him. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, and hopefully he can produce it.
And Peter Lappin, he's an vital cog for Madden as well.
Yeah, he Peter Lappin, you see him there wearing the number 6 jersey. I think I've played with Lappy now for probably about 9 or 10 years, and you know, if there was one word to describe Peter Lappin, it would probably be relentless. You know, I've seen me in going back to train with Madden or whatever, and if we were doing a 1v1 tackling grid or a 2v2 tackling grid, I would be paired up against Lappy. And you know, in terms of his drive and his attitude and like his willingness to, you know, not allow you to get the ball, and he just every time you play with Lappy, if it's training against him or if it's a friendly game or a championship game, it's body on the line stuff every time. You know, if there's a player hitting a shot, he's putting his body on the line to make that block. And I've seen him throughout the years making blocks upon blocks. And you know, there's games for Madden where he does things so simple and it probably goes unnoticed, but you know, the work he does, he's just a warrior. And I've seen also for some reason Peter Lappin, I don't know why, but he tends to find himself in nets for a training game. I don't know why, but for some reason he tends to find himself in nets, and you know, he's an unbelievable keeper as well. And it's, again, as I said, it's body on the line stuff all the time. It's do or die for him, which is great to have playing for Madden. And again, hopefully he can kick on. He's probably now 32 or 33, so again, maybe a year or two left. Hopefully he can, please God, progress. And one thing I would say there with Peter Lappin from Madden, since Madden has sort of started to climb the ladder this last, say, 5, 10, 15 years from Division 3 to Division 1, you know, Peter Lappin has been the backbone to the reason why Madden's getting better. And, you know, he's a complete warrior. And hopefully, please God, in the next year or two, we can kick on together.
And Mark Shields, then, he completes your half-back line now?
Yeah, so Mark Shields, he's probably similar to Smith in terms of versatile and play anywhere. I've played with Mark Shields now. I played with him, I think, about 6 years, and you know, if you're playing with Shields, he's like a man. He's like a man that's just sort of gliding and in like third gear, sliding past you. It's as if he's like on a different wavelength where he's able to beat a man and like beat a second man and a third man with like his directness. And you know, he's very comfortable traveling with the ball. He also seems to pop up with a point or a goal here or there if he's playing cornerback or halfback. Again, similar to Smith, he's like a silent leader. He does his talking on the pitch, and he's a great man to play alongside. He's played for Armagh now for, I'm sure he's played for Armagh maybe 10 years, and he's definitely been involved every season. That's just the type of player he is. And again, I know I said there he's versatile, but a couple of years ago, I just have an example here of, you know, I think he was maybe playing cornerback against Roscommon in the qualifiers, and he was able to just transform his game from cornerback to corner forward, and I think he scored a goal that day. So again, it shows you how versatile he is, but it's probably the way the game is now. Any player can play anywhere. So that's my halfbacks, and you know, if them boys are in my half-back line, I'm very happy. So that no, they're great players, the three of them.
We'll move on to your midfield then, Nell, and you've two Mon Mountains in here. You've your brother Ryan Grimley, and then you've Gary Brennan, who you would have played with on the international rules team.
Yeah, Yeah, two big men, two big strong men, probably 6'4" between them. Yeah, so I'll start with my brother Ryan. People probably know him better as Razor. I've been playing senior football with Ryan now for maybe 9, 10 years. And again, similar to Peter Lappin, you know, from Madden progressing this last 10 or 15 years, they are Ryan and Peter Lappin was the two first men on the team sheet. And, you know, if them men were injured or sick, or we had them on the pitch because they were the backbone of the team. And they're only for them, Madden wouldn't progress to where they are. I've no doubt about that. And just obviously, you know, Ryan probably on my career has had a huge influence. You know, Ryan started off, I think maybe when he was 18, I think he maybe got like B player of the year for Madden. Then it just progressed from, and then he's played Madden midfielder. He's been the Madden midfielder now for 10 or 15 years, and me and him have a great relationship on the pitch. And again, just a wee example for Ryan. You know, if you're talking to Ryan in the house, or you're sitting beside him or something, he's always throwing something up and he's catching it, whether it be a remote control or a wedding ring. He seems to, and I don't know if it's a coincidence as to why then he's so good at catching the ball. You know, he's a strong fielder of the ball, but he always seems to be throwing something up to try and catch it. And again, if we have a training game or whatever, an A versus B in the club or whatever it is, and if I'm marking Ryan, you know, he's one of the toughest opponents I've marked. In terms of the kickouts and catching ability in the air, if I'm lined out against Ryan and the keeper's taking a kick out or whatever, you know you're in for an absolute mountain of a task to try and catch the ball over him. And I've seen in club games, you know, there's some teams for kickouts put 2 and 3 men on him to stop him from catching the ball. So no, he was a clear choice in midfield for there. So again, he's probably 32 now. So I'm looking forward to hopefully another couple of years with battling with Ryan to try and kick on.
Gary Brennan then obviously recognised as probably one of the best midfielders and best footballers in the country. Maybe doesn't get the recognition he deserves because he's from a weaker county, but you would have played with him in the in the international rules. What sort of player was he?
So he's similar to Ryan. He's a mountain of a fella. He could be 6'4", he could be 6'4", 6'5", and he could be 15 stone. You know, he was a great player. I first met Gary Brennan obviously at the international rules trials in 2017, and if we were trialing say on the Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, you know, for the 10 or 12 weeks that was in it, he was probably one of the top performers week in, week out. And I remember thinking, I didn't know him that well at the time, and I remember thinking to myself, holy God, who is this player? He was just, you know, like a complete footballer in terms of catching ability, able to get up and down the park, also able to score points. He was a great player, and I know when he was out in Australia, he caused trouble with obviously some of the Australian lads. That was the best of the best of Australia in terms of his catching ability. And I think he scored a goal and a couple of points that day. Yeah, definitely underrated. And he's a fantastic player. And he was just a normal, quiet, civil, big fella. Just got on with it. He was really humble, and it was obviously great to play alongside him. And I learned a lot. So no, that was my two midfielders.
Your half forward line now, your forward line's really outstanding, and we'll see your full forward line in a second. But your half forward line with Shane Walsh, obviously the Galway man, Oisín O'Neill, and then Stephen Campbell on the other side.
Yeah, so yeah, good full or good half forward line. No, so I'll start with Shane Walsh. Again, similar. I only had met Shane Walsh in 2017 at the trials, and I'd obviously known him previous to that from watching him and stuff. But again, you talk about a player that has the power, strength, speed, two-footed. I don't think I've seen someone like Shane Walsh who's as naturally two-footed. You can see him for Galway and stuff, and he's hitting free kicks with his left foot, and he's right-footed. He's unbelievable player. He is an unbelievable player, and the time of the trials and stuff and the games and going out to Australia, he just has that extra wee bit of pace, that extra engine in him to beat a man, whether it be 1v1 or he gets the ball standing still and he can just inject pace. And I remember out in Australia, you obviously after the match you could hear people talk, not hear people talking, but you could sense, and I remember someone saying just the Shane Walsh being the player that he is, there was interest in him. Obviously, he was playing against the best of the best in Australia, and he was able to just burn them with his pace and his directness. And when he gets the ball, you see him for Galway, if Galway's on TV or whatever, you're watching Galway. When he gets the ball, it's like a sense of excitement because you're like, what's he gonna do? He try anything. And I remember actually, I think it might have been maybe one of the Saturday sessions at the trials. Again, maybe it was the end of the session and there's a few boys kicking about. He, he's over at the sideline hitting shots with his left and right foot, and he's scoring maybe 4 out of 5 shots. He's willing to try these things, and obviously he's a fantastic player. And again, I'm very lucky to have played with him, and I've learned a lot with him. Learned a lot playing with him.
And Oisin O'Neill, you have him in centre half forward, and that's probably the position people would best know him as. But you've played midfield with Oisin as well.
Yeah, so Oisin, I played Oisin now about 4 or 5 years, and probably last year we probably had a good midfield partnership, and obviously Oisin, people had seen him last year with his club. He's absolutely outstanding, and again in the county final, I think he scored 6-7 points. He's a fantastic player. One thing about Oisin is, in terms of hitting shots, Oisin's probably as comfortable as hitting shots from 35, 40 yards, 45 yards out as I've ever seen. He's nearly passing the ball over the bar. He works so hard, but obviously I see it because, playing with him, he works so hard. He always wants to get better, and he always wants to learn. And I know he had that ankle injury a couple of years ago, but since he's came back from that, he has been exceptional. And again, I'm looking forward to the next couple of years to play alongside him and hopefully progress. And again, I know he's younger than me, but like you be learning from people younger and older. And no, he's great. He's a great player, and he's a great fella also.
And then you have the Armagh captain there, Stephen Campbell, at wing half forward as well.
Yeah, so Stephen Campbell, Soupy Campbell. I've probably played with Soupy now 5 or 6 years. And similar to Shane Walsh there, talk about like directness and power. Soupy Campbell is a phenomenal player. Both feet, big, strong. Again, similar to Oisin, I had seen him last year for his club, and he was exceptional. He's able to just burn past men and put the ball over the bar, right foot, left foot, put the ball in the back of the net. Obviously he was the Armagh captain last year, and you don't become the Armagh captain just out of fluke or by chance. That's hours and hours of practice, hard work. He's a leader, and he's a great player, and again comfortable on the ball, able to take a man on, again probably similar to Shieldsy there, where he can beat 1 and 2 men. And again, I've I'm very privileged to be playing alongside him, and again, hopefully the next couple of years we can kick on and progress.
And your full forward line now, this full forward line is going to be hard stopped. You have Conor McManus, Michael Murphy, and Jamie Clark, probably three of the best inside forwards that Ulster has produced in the last 20 years, and probably Ireland as well.
Yeah, definitely a scary full forward line. So I'll start with McManus here. Obviously, before the international rules trials, I had known him. Obviously he's a massive deal. These boys probably need no introduction. These boys need no introduction for who they are and what they've achieved. Conor McManus, he's an unbelievable player. He's obviously he's a leader. He takes that responsibility of hitting them big shots from play, and it pays off for him. And I've no doubt that probably comes from hours and hours of practice. And I think out in Australia, I think he actually ended up being the top scorer. I think he might have scored. There could have been games he could have scored 2 goals and a couple of points and all. He's a great player to play alongside him. I remember at the trials, there could have been nights. It could have been maybe a Friday night down in Dublin, and it could have been maybe a wet, windy night, whatever it was. And he was maybe marking one of the best defenders in Ireland about. I don't know who it could have been on the night, but he's marking a top class player, and still he's able to perform. The one thing that probably struck me the most that time, playing with him and training alongside him, just his handling. His handling seemed to be so sharp. I remember thinking, his hands were like glue. The ball would just stick to him, whether it be a bouncing in or a catching in. And obviously everyone knows his scoring ability. He's able to hit shots from anywhere. But like I said there, that you don't just hit 5 shots in a match and just hope to go over. That would have been hours and hours and hours, and I'm sure he still is doing his hours of practice to become one of the best, and that's his name speaks for itself, really. And I was lucky to be able to play with him, and I learned a lot playing alongside him.
And Murphy's the same, I suppose. He needs no introduction either.
These boys, their names sort of speak for themselves. Again, the international rules, he just from training with him and just sitting in changing rooms with him, he's nearly like the complete player, where he's able to control games. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he can hit free kicks, he can score points. He's ruthless, he scores goals, whatever it is. And for some reason, whether playing with him or playing against him, the times that I have, he sort of seems to be in control. The game sort of maybe played at his pace, and everyone around him he sort of dictates. And again, similar to McManus, the two boys' names speak for themselves. But just from an example, maybe from them trial games where there could have been a night where conditions could have been slippy and sloppy, and you could have been looking around and Michael Murphy could have finished with 2-4, and he's marking one of the best defenders in Ireland. Just a machine of a man. And again, I learned plenty playing with him. So the two, it was great for them. It was great to play alongside them two men.
And Clark, then you have Jamie Clark in as your last selection in a corner forward.
Yeah, Jamie Clark, again, name speaks for itself. He probably played for Armagh for 10 or 11 years, and I've played with him this last 4 or 5 years. The first time I actually met Jamie Clark, when I was playing with him, I remember thinking he was like deceivingly tall. He's a tall fella, and obviously playing with him, when Jimmy has the ball, it's exciting. It's similar to Shane Walsh there. When he gets the ball, it's like a sense of excitement and, whoa, what's he going to do next? He's willing to try anything. He's a classy footballer. He's so silky. And I've seen him. He wants to get better. He's always out hitting shots, practicing shots. And again, I've learned loads playing alongside him, and he's absolutely a fantastic player. But again, them three fellas, it just doesn't happen for them. It would be hours and hours of work and sacrifice to become the top players. So no, it's a good full forward line there, and I'm sure a few defenders would be shaking if them boys came walking towards you.
And your sub bench then, these couple of boys, I suppose we're close to making your team, and a few of them you played with out in San Francisco, the likes of Keelan Mooney and Sean Armstrong and that. You played with out in San Francisco. And we'll just go through your bench then. You have Kevin Feely, who was on the international rules team. You have Keelan Mooney, Rugen, Sean Armstrong, Gregory Loughearn, Kevin McElvana, and Joe Sheridan.
Yeah. I'm looking at them fellas there, and I'm thinking, Jesus, maybe the bench could be stronger than the first team. No, so I'll start with Kevin McElvana. Obviously, Kevin McElvana is a Madden man. He won the All Ireland with Armagh. He's probably, in my age, he's probably a real role model, and he's a great man to have about the club. And he's probably unlucky not to make the team, but I just remember my first experience of Kevin McElvana. I was maybe only 16 and had started training with Madden seniors, and for some reason I ended up in a tackling grid with him. And similar to Peter Lappin there, relentless, didn't matter who I was or what I was, he was giving it his all to get that ball off me. And it's just probably the nature of the man that he is. He was a great player for Madden, and I was lucky to have played with him for a couple of years. So no, that's Kevy. I'll go on to Joe, another Madden man, Joe Sheridan. He's actually my cousin. I've only played with Joe now, I think maybe 2 years. Joe's only maybe 19 or 20. Joe, great player. Anyone that watched Madden last year in the championship would know how good of a player is. He's exciting. He's a great attitude, and he works hard. He's hungry. He wants to get better. He wants to learn. And there's times there's times in games where he's working that hard. He's emptying himself out. There'll be times you maybe come in at half time, and he's maybe ran himself into the ground to work so hard. And it's great to see. And again, he's only young, and I know he's got a bright future ahead of him, and I'm looking forward to playing him.
And the likes of Gregory, so I think you played with Gregory Loughearn, Keelan Mooney, Rory Rugen, and Sean Armstrong out in San Fran then, was that right?
So I played with them four men out in Ulster Club in San Fran. Suppose obviously I play with Rory now with Armagh. I'll start with him. I've been playing with him for 5 or 6 years. Rory is again similar to Niall Smith in terms of intelligent footballer. He's probably one of the smartest players I've played with. He's a fantastic player, and he always wants to get better, and he always wants to learn, and he's always hungry. And you've seen it for Armagh throughout the years. He's an exceptional player, and he's probably the best passing. He probably has the best passing ability that I've seen, and he plays with his head up. You've probably seen it throughout the years for Ballymacnab and Armagh. He's able to pick passes playing with his head up that no one else I know can do. And he's a fantastic player. Again, I'm looking forward to the next couple of years. Hopefully we can kick on and progress together. So, and Rory Grigan, so that was Rory, but he also played in that Ulster Club San Fran team, along with Keelan Mooney, Sean Armstrong, Gregory Loughearn. I'll just touch on Mooney a bit. Mooney, similar to Shane Walsh, that injection of pace that he has, it's frightening. Like it's raw speed, able to stand still and just tick off. And wouldn't matter if it's one man, two man, or two man, three men. He's able to just fly past you and go round you. And obviously had seen it out in Ulster Club in San Fran, and he was also trialling for the international rules. And again, phenomenal player, absolute flying machine. So them two were on the team, Rory and Keelan. Then Sean Armstrong, he had also played. Sean Armstrong from Galway, he was probably, he had the same sort of maybe attributes as to Michael Murphy, where he was able to like control the game, and just his communication and his calmness and sensible decisions, wise decisions. I had learnt a lot from him, and at the time I was maybe only 20, so he was great. He was a great man to learn from, and he was also a fantastic player, and his name speaks for itself. And Gregory Lahern, he was also on the team. Gregory Lahern, it ended up out in San Francisco. I ended up working with him. So it ended up he used to pick me up at 6:30 in the morning, and we'd work from say 7 to 5. And then that evening, when we finished work, we would go straight to Treasure Island and train. And obviously, it was all games. So from working with him all day to then playing a match that night and being lined out against him, I spent a good bit of my summer with him. And talk about someone again who's relentless. I think he won an All-Ireland medal under 21 with Armagh. He was relentless. He could do most things, and I was so impressed with him at the time. He was a midfielder, and he could score points. He could catch kickouts. He could tackle. He could defend. He was sort of like an all-rounder that could do everything. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, geez, he was a phenomenal player, and he was a great fella also.
And finally, you had Kevin Feely then. You were on the Aussie Rules team with him as well.
Yeah, well, look, probably that international rules team, there was a lot of fantastic players, Ian O'Shea, Zach Toohey, obviously plays for Geelong out in Australia, Kevin Feely, probably them three men, exceptional players and just real leader. As you said at the start of it, every one of these players are probably leaders in their own way. But, Kevin Feely was a great player and learned a lot from him. Again, he's up and down. He's an engine up and down, and his high catching abilities is incredible. And from seeing him at the trials that time, he was able to do most things as well: score points, mark men, and catch balls. And he was a fantastic player.
And as we're seeing your team now, and we have touched on it throughout there, that you have a team of real leaders. Like even at club level, you spoke of the Madden men that have led the charge for the last couple of years. You've Shane Walsh in the Galway captain, Michael Murphy, the Donegal captain, McManus, the Monaghan captain, and all the Armagh boys, obviously, Alexa Campbell, Aidan Falker, McKeever, have all been captains of the team. But I suppose we'll finish with our two quick fire questions. And this is a very unfair question, I suppose, but who would you say is the best leader that you've played with, that made your dream team?
Jeez, that's tough. Look, as you said there, all them boys are a leader in every single way possible. Suppose probably the one that sticks out to me, having worked so closely with him this last 5 or 6 years, Aidan Falker is just an incredible man, on off the pitch. He's a leader, and he leads by example. He's a role model in so many ways for everything that he does. He always wants to get better. He wants to improve, whether it be his right-footed scoring ability, left-footed scoring ability. He always wants to just get the next level, to get an edge, to get to the next level. And he just leads by example. And this past couple of years with Armagh, he's been exceptional. And he's my standout leader, and he's a fantastic. He's a great player, and he's a good fella.
Finally, now another unfair question. We've seen the quality in your team there. You've played with some of the best players in Ireland, but who would be the best player that you've played with, that has made your dream team there?
That's a tough question. Probably that time of the international rules trials, whatever it was, the 10 or 12 weeks, and Conor McManus, I remember coming up the road from Dublin and thinking that man was on a different planet. There was things that in them trial games, and when he's doing it for Monaghan, and I'm sure he does it for his club, and he had done it for Ireland as well, as he finished top point scorer, top scorer, whatever. He was doing things that I've never seen before, ticking on, man, scoring points, scoring from sidelines, and that probably hasn't come just out of chance. That would be hours and hours of hard work, sacrifice, night after night, wanting to get better. And he doesn't need my introduction to tell him how good he is. But phenomenal player, and again, he's proven it year after year, week after week, whether it be for his club or his county. There could be times where there's a key man marking him, one of the best defenders in Ireland could be marking him in some of the games, and he's finishing with 1-3 and 1-4. So he probably just edges it. But again, like some of the fellas in that team, I'm very lucky and I'm very blessed to have played with, and I'm privileged to have played with. I've probably played with maybe 500, 1,000 players in my lifetime, and to narrow it down to 15 or 23 or 24, it wasn't easy. But suppose, suppose it was tough, but it was enjoyable.
Good man. Thanks very much for coming on and telling us your dream team. There's some quality in it, and we'll hopefully have a different club player every week on telling us their dream team. So again, thank you, Niall. Thanks for coming on.
No problem, Sean. Thanks very much. Appreciate that.